This is the Solid Signal podcast for the week of January 9th, 2023. So a lot of folks woke up in the days around New Year's Day and found that they could no longer watch standard definition local channels from DIRECTV. Now, it shouldn't have come as a surprise because really, honestly, this is something that you've probably seen slides pop up on your screen about this, and you've probably seen notifications. And if you've read the Solid Signal blog, you've known this was in the works for, about at this point, 7 years. But still, there was never a lot of notification as far as when it was going to actually happen. And to be fair, there have also been a couple of times when people have been told, yes, this is going to happen, and then it didn't. So I understand that maybe you've seen these notifications and you didn't believe them. But then you woke up around the 1st of January and you found that you could no longer watch your standard definition locals with your older DIRECTV receiver. And I can see where this is very frustrating to people, and I get it. I totally do. So what can you do? Because there are at this point only about 20 cities that can get standard definition locals from the 101 satellite at this point, and maybe another 15 of them who can get them from the 119 satellite. Before I go into the solutions part of it, I should mention that this is probably something that is going to continue. We're going to see more and more of these channels taken away over the course of 2023, I think. It's, like I said, it was put off for a lot of reasons. And now it seems to be going full speed ahead. It's being done for a lot of reasons. First of all, to simplify operations at DIRECTV's operation centers, or all their broadcast centers, rather than replacing old modulators with new ones and increasing the cost of things. And they're just cutting out standard definition service. And to be fair, Dish has done this. They're more aggressively than DIRECTV. Spectrum and Xfinity have done this more aggressively than DIRECTV. DIRECTV is kind of the last holdout on these old standard definition local channels. Well, what can you do? Well, the first thing that you can do is you can make sure that you're running the latest and greatest DIRECTV receivers in your home, RV, or business. And a lot of times this can be very confusing for folks because they don't know if they should upgrade to the Genie system. If you have an RV or a boat and you want to have a receiver in that RV or boat and still keep DIRECTV at home, there's a special Genie receiver that you need called the HR54. And if you don't get that right away, if you get the Genie 2, they're going to try to deactivate the receiver in your RV. You don't want that. So it can be done. You can get the latest and greatest receivers, and you can either get high definition service, which honestly, you probably have a high definition TV at this point anyway, or you can continue to watch standard definition channels if they are available in your area using the newer receiver. Either is going to be an option for you. If it's just kind of up to what you want to do and the area that you're in. The key, of course, is doing it right. The key is making sure that you talk to the right folks to do it. And, if you call 1-800-DIRECTV, they are not going to give you the right information, especially if you've got a business, an RV, or a boat. They're just not equipped for that sort of thing. So skip that part and just call Solid Signal at 888-233-7563. It's really the right option. Solid Signal is a DIRECTV dealer. In fact, DIRECTV's Dealer of the Year. And so you're getting exactly the same access to DIRECTV's systems. You're not really turning anything over to a third party or anything like that. And what you're getting is really just much better customer service down the line. I really recommend it, and it's not just because I happen to work for Solid Signal, but also because I've seen people just incredibly frustrated by having to go through the call center experience at DIRECTV and still not getting what they want. They spend hours and hours and still don't get what they want and finally end up calling us. And I'd say just kind of save the time and don't worry about it. Meanwhile, the question of why this is being done, and that's really a good question when you think about it, because there's a really good answer to it. A couple of years ago, DIRECTV launched one of the largest communications satellites ever put in the sky at its primary 101 location. A lot of folks in DIRECTV Techland were very worried that DIRECTV was going to abandon this location completely in favor of the ones they've got at 99 and 103. That turned out to not be true. Instead, they doubled down on the 101 location, putting a gigantic satellite in place. And what this means is that by eliminating all of these standard definition channels, they can start putting more high definition channels on the 101 satellite. That's good for you. And let me explain why. It's good for you, first of all, because the signals coming from the 101 satellite are more resistant to rain fade than the ones coming off the 99 and 103 satellites. So no matter where you are, unless you happen to be in a place like Phoenix or Southern California where it doesn't rain a lot, you're going to get better performance from a channel that's on that 101 satellite. Second of all, people with single satellite systems, that's a lot to say, single satellite systems are going to be able to get more HD channels that way. So if you've got a dish on your RV, if you've got a smaller dish on your boat, if you're on an airplane, and I'll explain that in a minute, then you are going to get more HD channels eventually, because clearing out all those standard definition channels it's going to mean that you're going to get more HD channels. Currently there's about 5 HD channels available on that satellite, and if they clean out all of the standard definition ones, that should add the capacity for at least 80 or 90 high definition channels. And so certainly DIRECTV could put the most popular ones, the ones that people are most likely to see, on the 101 satellite, meaning that you would have better protection from rain fade, you would have better ability to use your older satellite dish. All of this is really, really good news for people with DIRECTV, especially if you have had DIRECTV for a long time. What do you need to do in this case? Well, just kind of, for the most part, sit back and watch it happen. If you've already upgraded yourself to a Genie system, to an H25, H24 receiver, then you're all set. Simple as that. And there have been a lot of attempts by DIRECTV in the last several years to get people with RV and marine dishes to upgrade to those latest receivers because they knew this was going to happen. And so if you haven't taken advantage yet, let me give you that number again, 888-233-7563. Those are the folks that you want to call to do this upgrade. And you really want to do it sooner or later, but sooner is always best. There can be some incentives depending on who you are as far as what you're going to pay for those things. Call them and they will tell you the whole deal. I did want to mention the whole airplane situation, however. And this is all happening, I understand, because of airplanes, because DIRECTV has long-term contracts with some of the commercial airlines. For example, they've been on JetBlue for many, many years. And it's amazing that you can get satellite TV on a commercial airliner at all, to be honest with you. But doing it with multiple satellites is pretty darn hard, which is why DIRECTV has supplied those standard definition channels for years. And this way, they're going to be able to supply high definition channels to those airlines. And as a consequence, they'll be able to supply them to you as well. It's a win-win-win for everybody. If you want to know more about this stuff, you can read the Solid Signal blog, blog.solidsignal.com. But what you really want to do is call an expert at Solid Signal. Here's the number one more time, and I know I'm sounding kind of salesy. Please forgive me. 888-233-7563. That's about it for the podcast for this week. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment. Makes me look good to my bosses. Share this podcast with anybody who you know really likes this kind of stuff, because I'm always looking for new listeners. That's another thing that always makes me look good in my reviews. That's it for the podcast for this week, though, and I will be looking forward to seeing you again next week.